I'm not even going to talk about YouTube Live. I'm not going to talk about audio. But if you know, you know, and fingers crossed that it will be resolved. Just organize. Got the selenite here. Um, we will not be doing becoming. We will not be doing an episode, becoming episode next week. I am hosting a retreat in the Kootenays, so in beautiful British Columbia, Canada, and we'll still be together on Monday and closing our time. So there will be no episode next week. And let me just get this organized. Um, it's been really interesting playing in the YouTube realm. I don't know, for those of you that are familiar with being on social media and YouTube, it's been interesting playing in the YouTube realm more actively than Instagram and Facebook, or perhaps more intentionally. And I've been enjoying it, so I appreciate, I appreciate your reflections here. And I really wish that we could do YouTube on my desktop. So I'm not sure why we can't, and that's okay, because I really enjoy doing Instagram lives as well. But that's an aside. Anyway, so today, interesting kind of topic that we're going to touch on is something that came up actually yesterday when I was having dinner and a fire with a friend. And I don't know about you, but I've even been feeling not that my energy is depleted, but not as energized as I'm used to. And I have been talking to other folks as well, where there's this mental exhaustion, physical exhaustion. Some people haven't been able to sleep at all, or very sporadic sleeping patterns. So that might be the case for you. And so just to really honor what your body needs, to listen to your body and honor what your body needs. If you are feeling high, if you are feeling like energy levels are depleted, or you're not getting rest, like I said, there are some people that have just not been able to sleep properly. Um, oh, absolutely! Happy birthday! Happy birthday to you! Um, yeah, there have been people that have not been able to sleep today, and for you on your birthday as well, may um, may you have a sense of peace and calm and fulfillment and laughter and joy. That would be a birthday blessing and wish for you. May we all have that as well, but extra for the people and for you celebrating your birthday. And so just to reflect on, if you are feeling those energy levels a little bit depleted, or you're not feeling like you're getting rest or proper rest, to listen to your body. And at the same time, like, we are in a world where there is a lot of stimulation, perhaps even over stimulation, and getting pulled in many different directions. We are humans with lives and roles, responsibilities, duties, all of it. Um, and yeah, you got to do the things. You have to fulfill that as well for yourself. But can you honor what your body's needing and getting rest? And like I said, some folks that I've talked to have just not been able to sleep, or very sporadic, very restless sleep. And so just to acknowledge that. So yeah, where we're gonna go and explore today, that came up actually last night. So I was at a fire with a friend and my partner, and beautiful conversations. I always enjoy spending time with this friend, because they're an elder, very young at heart, but they are an elder to us, and very open-minded, right? Very intelligent, very open-minded with their perspectives on life and the spiritual path. And we were just talking about what we go through in life and in relationships. Hi. What we go through in life and relationships, and they brought up a book. Somebody had shared a book with them, and the title of the book, they didn't even read the book because the title of the book was "The Prisons That We Choose to Live In." And then he's like, you know what? I get the gist of this book. But it's so true. Hello, hi, Canada. I'm in Canada as well, British Columbia. Hello, hello. So, thinking of that concept, the prisons that we choose to live in, I always think of that analogy where, you could be in this jail cell or this prison, so to speak, but maybe the door's not locked, right? The door is not locked. Hi. um, and to reflect on that. So where are you? Where are we as humans? Because sometimes, the mind, the trappings of the mind can create like almost these prison states for us. Hello, hello, hello. So to be mindful of that, where you might in fact feel trapped or feel like you are in a state of being in a prison, so to speak, but could it be a choice? And so that's like the clincher, like what a great book title, The Prisons We Choose to Live In, because everything that we are in, once again, understanding there's external influences. So I was about to say, we have choice in a lot of things. However, sometimes environmentally, on a global scale, there's not really a choice in what we experience and what we have. But, oh, the sound is low. Honestly, sometimes the sound with the replays just is a little glitchy. So I'm hoping that it works. Thank you. Thank you for letting me know that. I am starting to explore what it's like to be live in the YouTube world versus social media. So I believe there is still learning to happen. So thank you for sharing that. So a lot of what we experience in our life, or where we are, like let's say you're in a job, right? You've got a job or a career that you don't like, but at the same time, it's a choice to be there. Do you have to pay bills? Do you have to make money to live and to survive? Absolutely. And so that would be what was driving it, the choice. What about a relationship? Maybe you're in a relationship and you might not be happy, and you could be feeling challenge or conflict in that. But then once again, like that could be a choice to remain in those situations. And so it's when we're looking at it from that perspective of the prisons that we choose to live in, it's taking that internal accountability. It's taking accountability for our lives, for our choices. Not always necessarily our circumstances, but perhaps looking at circumstances to become more aware of your part in them and your choices in them. And sometimes that's a hard pill to swallow. Like I can even attest to that too. There's been situations where I've been in, and I'm sure you're the same too. Some of you have probably experienced this as well, where you might be looking at a situation or a circumstance that you're in and getting frustrated or worked up about it, but choosing to continue to stay. So I've definitely been there, right? Where it's like, but this could change or that could change, but it's like maybe it's not going to. And continuing to choose being in those situations or circumstances or environments. And something that's important to be aware of too, hope is powerful. Being optimistic, oh my gosh, optimism, remaining optimistic in challenging circumstances, having hope in challenging circumstances is also powerful and can really shift things for you, maybe not in the external environment, but perhaps internally. if you have that hope, if you've got a positive spin or the ability to look at things from a positive perspective, but at the same time, not necessarily disregarding what's happening, because sometimes that can happen too, which you might see where there's toxic positivity, where like a blind eye is turned in different things, or even denial of what's going on in different circumstances through the positivity. So like not advocating for toxic positivity that is removing you from the reality of situations, or trying to use affirmations to get, to change the circumstances. So not that affirmations aren't positive, oh gosh, affirmations and the power of the mind. Like so much of this can be mindset shift too. So when you're working with affirmations or envisioning alternate ways of being or living or circumstances, envisioning the circumstances differently, that can help. But at the same time, we have to be in touch with reality. And that's even that concept of the prisons that we choose to live in. Sometimes there could be the spin where it goes into the victim mode or victim mentality, and you might not see in different circumstances that you're choosing to be there. And this is not to judge. This is not to judge the self. This is not to criticize the self, even the external environment. Like, this is not to be judgmental and critical to that whole experience, but it is to look at it from an honest place, right? From an honest and truthful place with the self. And knowing if you are choosing to be in these situations or choosing these prisons, so to speak, these prisons we choose to live in, you can also choose something differently. Like, isn't that powerful? Like, isn't that empowering to know that we can choose something differently? We can, and maybe it doesn't happen overnight. Like, that's something that's also important to mention. Maybe it doesn't happen overnight. Maybe that is a choice that happens in the heart. It's a knowing and it's a choice and a new direction or a pivot that happens in the heart, and then it's like a seed is planted. So that seed is planted and you water it, and then maybe the action on that choice does not take place until some time, but at the same time, that's where you realize that and when you are being accountable to yourself, right, that's huge, being accountable to yourself, to your life, to see what role you are playing, what roles you are playing. Because sometimes life, like the biggest drama that we could be playing out is these roles that we have. The role or the character that you have as you in the human now, the different roles and the characters that these other people in your life have. It's so fascinating when we can see beyond the current representation of you and your spirit and your soul, and then kind of expand it out into a dance, right? The dance of souls, where you are going to have so many, and we're calling them characters, but so many different characters come into your life and your world, and really these other souls that are coming into your life and your world to play out different lessons, to play out different experiences, and you are doing that for other people as well. And sometimes, you could be the quote-unquote villain of their story. They could be the quote-unquote villain of your story. But at the same time, like, there's this divine perfection in it all. Because sometimes, and we were talking about this actually last night at the fire in that conversation, sometimes when a character is coming into your life, which is another soul that is coming into your life to play the villain, it's not that they are a bad person, it's not that they're evil, it's not like, it's nothing of that nature, them on a soul level. So I have to have to stress this. On a soul level, it goes much deeper than that. When we're in the confines of the human and the restrictions of the human and the hurts that the human can take on, rightly so in some cases, okay, rightly so. However, when it's coming from that soul level, sometimes these individuals that come into your life, these characters that come into your life, the souls come into your life with the deepest love and reverence for you and your soul's journey. And they might come in and do horrendous things. Okay, real talk. Things that in some cases could shatter you in many ways, where the pieces, it's like the shattering and the pieces like flying all over into the corners of the galaxies, perhaps where you never feel like you could pick the pieces back up again. Have you been there? Yeah. Definitely been there. And perhaps, since we're saying like these roles that we play, like you might have done that to someone. I know I've done that to others, perhaps, knowingly or unknowingly. So when that happens, it's like the shattering and all of the pieces, and you might not be able to, or you might not feel or believe that you'll be able to pick up all the pieces or come back together from that hurt. That hurt on a soul level was coming from deep soul love and reverence for you and your soul's journey, which can be really hard to attempt to understand, and maybe we can't always even understand when atrocious things happen. It's so true. But at the same time, when those events happen and when the quote-unquote villain of your story comes into play that part, what for you within that shattering has come out, like when there's the shattering in the opening, like some of the deepest heartbreak brings the deepest love, or some of the deepest heartbreak brings people to spirituality, to God, to that higher supreme power as well. That can happen a lot. Even to themselves. Through that shattering, you fully can discover or remember who you are. And sometimes, unfortunately, oh my gosh, sometimes, yeah, it comes through painful experiences at the hands of others, but sometimes at the hands of self. And then once again, remembering like the characters and the souls that are coming in to play these roles, it's not done on a soul level to be from malice. It's not done on a soul level to be considered vile or evil in any way. Like we're here to expand and return back into that state of being one with the creator, if we want to call it that, like whatever word we're going to use, but that supreme source, that feels like so much of what we're here to do and be. And when we choose to live in prisons and not know that we're choosing to do that, that can hold things up, right? Because that gets into the blame, the shame, the woe is me mentality. It happens, and I have been there too. Like, ooh, and it's a slippery slope. It's a slippery slope, and it is hard when you're faced with having to look at your life and your experience in your reality, and perhaps like where you're choosing situations that might not be supportive of you, you know? Yes. Where you know you're not, it's not supportive of you. So just to be mindful of that. And once again, can we say, like, we don't want to judge, we don't want to criticize ourselves, and you don't want to criticize yourself if that's happening for you. You know, if you're in a situation that's not supportive of you, or if you're choosing habits or behaviors that are not supportive of you, like, we don't need to judge and criticize, but are there corrections that can be made? Perfect example. Um, maybe there's thought forms that you have, or like um, a mental pattern that comes through for you. And okay, there's a couple ways that we could go with this conversation, but you could have like this thought form that comes through for you repeatedly. It's like a pattern. Maybe you're working towards a goal, and instantly this thought comes in and goes, oh, that'll never happen, right? That can happen, right? You could be working towards something. There we go. It froze. So what were we talking about? Oh, perfect. So we were talking about, you could be working for a goal or a vision, and then you could have that intrusive thought that comes in and says, you know, that's not going to happen, that's not possible. So these could be, you know, thoughts that you have that have just been a default for you. I also find it interesting that as talking about that, the YouTube live froze, because we're gonna speak on something else, but YouTube live froze. It froze. The screen went black. That's never actually happened to me doing a live here yet. And sometimes when those intrusive thoughts come in, you know, it could be external influences, right? Because we are in a spiritual realm. So yes, could be you, and you could be like having those thoughts, and you could choose to go down the spiral of, oh, that's not going to happen, it's not possible, it's not for you. Or then you could choose, when that thought comes in, if these are the thought patterns that are happening for you, of, okay, so I see, I hear, I acknowledge that thought, and at the same time I'm not accepting that as my reality. So that can happen in one case. But at the same time, there could be thoughts that come through that aren't necessarily solely coming from you. Like, it could be external influences, external energies. There's a lot of parasitic energy on this planet right now, influencing a lot of people, and to be mindful of that. So we do have our own personal sovereignty. We can work with the mind. We can shift the mind in many cases through awareness and through diligence, and at the same time to be aware that there are external influences as well. And sometimes you might even get like a sense or a feeling, like, this is a different example, but you could get a thought in your mind where it almost feels like, whoa, where did that come from? Like, that doesn't actually feel like your character. So it might stop you in your tracks, where you're like, what was that? Like, where did that? So then in those moments, it's really, we still acknowledge it, to acknowledge that thought, but to also know that that's not yours, right? It's like, that has no part in your mind, your body, your heart. You know, rejecting that thought in a way, acknowledging it, and then rejecting it. Because intrusive thoughts and invasive thoughts that are coming from more of parasitic energies that are everywhere, and we're seeing a lot more, because of that personal sovereignty, and our connection to the divine, we have the ability to combat those as well. With the mindset shifts, if you've got these repeating patterns of not believing things are possible, and, you know, almost shutting things down for yourself, something that could be beneficial as well And this is through awareness, though, to be aware of when it's coming up for you, and then being curious of, where did that start? I find I reflect on that a lot, and when I work with people, if we've got these patterns that come up, or these beliefs that come up, to always kind of explore of like, well, that's like, where did this start? Because that could be from, X, Y, and Z in your life, but it might not actually be now. But that's so much of having the power of self-awareness. Like, that's huge. Being aware of the thoughts that you have, being aware of who you are, being aware of the choices, that we are making. So talking about the prisons that we choose to live in, being aware of that. Because once you're aware, like, that's turning the light on. Like, if you were in a dark room, awareness is flicking the light switch on. So where we were talking about, like, those thoughts and those patterns that come in, like, perhaps a prison that you're choosing to live in is that you're only meant for a specific thing, or if you've got a business, it's only meant to go so far. If you've got a relationship, if you've had a history of being in partnerships where you're not seen or valued or treated the way, whatever, fill in the blank, you might just accept that or believe that's for you. So that could be a prison that you're choosing to live in. So the awareness shifts that, though, right? Where we're looking at things with that inquiring mind and heart. And that's another thing too, if there are intrusive thoughts that are coming through to you, when you have that self-awareness, you can, at times, not always, so we're going to prefix that, but you can sometimes more clearly see and understand what are your thoughts and what are not. So when I was saying earlier, like, the parasitic energies and influences that are on this planet that are getting very activated now a lot, if you have those thoughts where it's like, what was that? Where did that come from? That wasn't me, right? Where you might even know that wasn't you. That's through awareness. But sometimes if we're in states of anxiety, right, where you're not grounded, where there could be a disconnect from your heart as well, disconnected from your heart, disconnected from spirit, those intrusive thoughts could at times be taken on as yours. So to be mindful of that, like, that awareness piece is so important too. And when we are more actively connected into our heart spaces, not operating so much from the analytical mind, but from the I want to say intuitive wisdom, inner wisdom, divine connection, spiritual connection, and ways of the heart, or the ways in which the heart can open us up to God, source, divine. When we're in that space, there is more of an openness to ask those questions, or to take accountability for ourselves and for our lives and the realities that we're living. And what reality would you desire or envision for yourself? What reality do you want for yourself? So, like, yeah, affirmations, powerful, of course, but at the same time, like, what can you do in this now moment to shift you closer to coming into alignment with that perceived vision? So let's say, for example, let's say you're in a situation where you're not feeling happy, you're not feeling fulfilled. This could cover many different ways where you're in different situations where you might not be feeling fulfilled, and that's okay. it's acknowledging it. We don't want to ignore that you might not be feeling happy or that you might not be feeling fulfilled, but what is one thing that you could do now to shift that? Or what does even that state of fulfillment feel like or look like for you? What would you want that state of fulfillment to be for you? And then what can you do, right? What can you do in this now moment to come into agreement, come into alignment, to open yourself up more to that state of fulfillment, to invite in that state of fulfillment. Oh, and see, we have find true love. So that could be something that, that you're wanting to have in your life, like to have that true love. So in this moment in time, what are ways that you can show yourself acts of love? What are ways that you can give yourself that true love, like even in the smallest ways, right? Even in the smallest ways now, so that you're pouring into yourself, you're filling yourself up with that true love, to in turn start to open pathways, or I'm seeing like the doors opening, but it's like open pathways to receive that true love. So what can you do now for yourself to pour into yourself that true love, to receive it, and even to see that written, to find true love. It's like, how can you become that true love and receive that true love, so that it might not necessarily be the finding, if that makes sense. Is it like not necessarily finding the true love, it's coming into alignment with that and then receiving that. So these are things to ponder and to reflect on, and sometimes to ask the hard questions yourself. So just to go back to what we were talking about at the very, very beginning of referencing the prisons that you choose to live in, to look at them, to acknowledge them, to see the choices that are being made within them. And if you are in this quote-unquote prison, or if you are in this jail cell, where the door might not even be closed, it might even not be locked, or perhaps you're even holding the key. So what is it about that situation that has you holding the key? Is it fear? Is it doubt? Is it uncertainty? Is it the beliefs that that's all that's possible? Is it the beliefs that that's what's deserved? Is it the belief that that's as good as it gets? That situation. And so to be mindful about it, free from judgment, free from criticism, only curiosity and inquiry. So much love to you all. Once again, happy birthday to the birthday folks. And may you, as you open up this week to explore the things that you can do or be in this now moment that will help you come into those more fulfilled states that you're envisioning, dreaming of, wanting. Yes, Jesus, absolutely. Absolutely. Jesus, especially when we were talking about those parasitic energies, Jesus can definitely help support that, and loves each and every one of us, which is beautiful. We have to open our hearts, of course. Jesus is not going to force himself on anybody. But if you have an open heart to it, he's waiting. He's pursuing us. And it's just a comment. Jesus saves. And it's very, very true. Open heart, open minds. I personally also have a relationship with Jesus. This is a tangent, but I do have a personal relationship with Jesus, and I can attest that there have been many transformations that have taken place in my life, lots of changes that I never ever would have anticipated. Some of them have been amazing, some of them have been painful. Such is life. Such is life. But I wouldn't change anything. I have to say that. And Jesus has so much love for us, for humanity, and really wants us to feel that love. Like, it's unconditional love that goes beyond words. It really does. So yeah, if you've got your heart open to that, you will be received no matter who you are, where you are, like, received in all ways. Yeah. So once again, wishing you all a wonderful, wonderful week. May there be joy, may there be contentment, may there be fulfillment for all. Much love. Mwah.